Ben, for the love of God, please stop talking about hockey. We have a show to do.
But that's my opening bit, but okay, I won't. Somehow I'll get through the opening bit without talking about what I'm talking about in my opening bit. Wow, that's hard to say.
He just wouldn't stop talking about the Blackhawks before the show started.
Can I just say one thing before we get going? We're taping, right? We're recording. Oh, excuse me, recording. Good news. All right, just want to say a little good news.
What's that?
My Sun-Times from yesterday showed up in today's packet.
Hey, there we go. They're trying a new approach there at the Sun-Times. Day late news.
There's a song by the Rolling Stones. I think Michael Girardi is probably the only one who may know. It's called "Who Wants Yesterday's Papers."
Very funny.
Yesterday's good.
That song sucks. The two people that are on the stream right now, Bruce, and HM, they mentioned yesterday they also did not get their papers, but they said they got today's and yesterday's paper as well.
Yes, it is. I was not alone. You know, I thought it was a paranoid thing. The Sun-Times doesn't like me because I made fun of their Bears coverage. It's a little over the top, guys, just saying. But it turns out it's not personal. Okay, the whole system fell apart, and they delivered yesterday's paper with today's news, which enabled me to see another great picture of Johnny C.
Oh,
John
man.
Catanzara, the Chicago Sun-Times, has a little bit of a crush on him, let's just say. And he's standing out. It looks like he's wearing a Kansas City Royals shirt. I don't know. Johnny C., you don't live in Kansas City. You live in Chicago.
Is he wearing one of those Chicago, like that new uniform they had over the season? Remember they had that little one-time...
Who? The Sun-Times? You mean the
Cubs?
The Cubs and the White Sox had the hometown thing?
Yeah,
and the Cubs and their idiocy took Wrigleyville?
Yeah.
Wrigleyville. There's not even a Wrigleyville. No. It's a baby blue shirt, and it's the Kansas City Royal color. Whether it is the Kansas City Royal shirt, I don't know. But, Johnny's a good-looking guy. No matter what he wears, he looks good, D. So happy to report that. Monroe Anderson has joined us.
All right, everybody, your Ben Jarofsky Show for Wednesday, October 27th is brought to you by SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana, the Chicago Federation of Labor, Chicago Teachers Union, and Chicago Reader. ChicagoReader.com for all things there is to know the city of Chicago, where to go, oh, I can't even talk, where to go, what to do, what to eat, what to drink, what kind of pot to smoke, and so much more. Monroe Anderson left. I'm sorry, is it something I said?
Who was it yesterday? Remember David Glowacz came on and then just disappeared.
Yeah.
What's my guest? I'm not going to sit here until I'm really ready to go on. Okay.
Chicago Reader. Subscribe. ChicagoReader.com. And if you want to help out this program, you can. ChicagoReader.com/Jarofsky. JORA. V as in victory. SKY. It is Wednesday, October 27th, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Ben Jarofsky Show. Today on the program, legendary Chicago journalist Monroe Anderson, and the only guest on our program who joins the live stream chat on the day that he's going to be on the show, Sergio Mims. And now your host. I promise you'll never find him on any live stream chat ever. Chicago Reader columnist Ben Jarofsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Jarofsky here. We're calling this Here Come the Hawks Wednesday, and here's why. My not-so-beloved Chicago Blackhawks are in a heap of trouble. I say not so beloved. They're not beloved at all. I am not a Blackhawks fan. Everybody knows this. Well, not everybody knows this, but anybody who knows me knows this. Not a hockey fan. Don't follow the Hawks. In fact, I find them an annoyance. I must just confess that. Like, their presence in the sports page annoys me. I admit that. Because it's like they're taking real estate away from my beloved Chicago Bulls. And it's really hard to get into the sports page anyway, as I've said, because the Chicago Bears dominate. Like the Sun-Times, the Chicago Bears burped. Live coverage. 5. Anyway. Chicago Blackhawks. The papers are filled with articles about the Blackhawks. The headline in the bright one, which managed to find its way to me. God bless the bright one. Hawks tarnished cup. We've talked about this briefly in the past. The Chicago Blackhawks. What a scandal. Damn. In 2010, when the Chicago, by the way, I'm going to explain this for all you political junkies out there, because I realize, I know most of the people who listen to the show are lefties, political junkies. They don't follow sports. They certainly aren't. If there's any sport, they're not going to be following hockey. In fact, I only know one lefty, the PR person for the Chicago Teachers Union. I will not name her name because they'll probably kick her out of lefty circles, but she loves the Blackhawks. Anyway, one lefty in Chicago loves the Blackhawks. Monroe's laughing. He's never watched a hockey game in his life. Anyway, but Chicago Blackhawks.
A friend of mine did, John White. He's now dead, but we worked at the Tribune together back in the early 80s. And he went to a Blackhawks game. He's black.
Oh, my God. You know what is interesting, folks? Yeah. Be a black person and go to a Blackhawks game. That is a fascinating case study.
His report was because at that time they had a black player.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
Who? Well, you'll never remember.
They did not treat, they were very polite to him. They gave him all the love as a black person at a Trump rally.
At a Trump rally, they conveniently positioned the black person behind Trump.
Right,
as if to say,
a sign saying blacks for Trump. All one of us.
It's a little like black people in Chicago at hockey games. Here, have a seat. Anyway, let's go back to the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010 when they won their first of their most recent Stanley Cups. They had a strength coach who was sexually harassing and abusing one of their players, threatening to hit him with a baseball bat, not making this up, if he didn't succumb. The player told another person in the Blackhawks organization what happened. That person dutifully told the bosses of the Chicago Blackhawks, the general manager and the coach, were alerted of the fact. And they had a meeting, Monroe, right before a crucial game in the playoffs to discuss this allegation of sexual assault involving a coach. And they came to the decision that to raise it as an issue would be to deter them from their goal of winning the Stanley Cup. And so they just buried it as an, let's not discuss it. And in fact, at the end of the year, when they won the championship, they allowed the coach who did the sexual assault to celebrate with the team. They put his name on the Stanley Cup, which is this thing that looks like a tin cup that they give hockey teams when they win the championship. I'm helping you out, non-sports fans. It's called the Stanley Cup because there's literally this giant cup that they give the winning team. Did you know that, Monroe, that there's such a thing?
It's a big ugly cup.
It's a big ugly cup.
Two handles on it.
To match a big ugly sport.
Right.
So they give them this big old cup and they etch the names of all the players in the organization, all the members of the organization who contributed to winning that big ugly cup. And one of the names put on that big ugly cup was the guy, the Predator. And they also put on the cup, obviously, the coach, the general manager, all the people looked the other way.
The general manager who got fired yesterday.
Yeah, conveniently. We'll get to that.
But it was his first year.
No, that general manager's been around for about 10 years. See,
that's right. 10 years. It was 10 years ago.
Oh, I thought you said his first year. My bad.
Yeah, right. His first year, right.
So anyway, back to the story. So the newspapers are outraged, this is horrible. So I'm going to read you. This is from Steve Greenberg's column in today's Bright One. Lots of shame to go around denouncing the Chicago Blackhawks for looking the other way. And by the way, just one more thing you should know, Monroe. I don't know if you saw this part. So when the coach left, when the coach left, he didn't leave in disgrace from the Blackhawks. They just kind of quietly ushered him out the back door. And apparently, allegedly, they wrote a letter of recommendation on his behalf that he was used to get another job with like a high school team or a college team in Michigan. And guess what? Turns out he was alleged to have sexually molested someone up there.
Right. So
nice. It's like kind of like, remember how Catholic Church would just like pass on these abusive priests from one parish to another? And really ugly, embarrassing, horrible scandal that the Blackhawks are facing. And here's what Steve Greenberg has to say, Monroe. And I'm going to turn this one out. I'll have a little discussion about this. Steve Greenberg, columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times, opining about this scandal that's engulfed his beloved Blackhawks. He apparently is a Blackhawks fan, unlike Monroe and me. After resigning Tuesday, Scott Bowman, the general manager, offered in a careful, scanty statement, quote, "I relied on the direction of my superior that he would take appropriate action. Looking back, not knowing he did not handle the matter properly, I regret assuming he would do so," end of quote. I assume that the leader that he's referring to is a guy named John McDonough, another big shot at the Blackhawks. Here's what Greenberg writes. "The words of a leader? No. Actions speak louder. And Bowman, Quenneville, and all the others should be ashamed of their spineless roles in the tarnishing of a championship legacy." Now, Monroe, when I read this, it occurred to me, I don't believe that any Blackhawk fan in the city of Chicago would have disagreed with the policy of burying this scandal. In fact, I'm not even sure that all the sports writers in Chicago who are up in arms about this would have been leading the charge. Do you know why? Because at the moment that scandal first emerged, at the moment that story of the sexual abuse first emerged, the Blackhawks were in the midst of a heated battle for the Stanley Cup championship. They wanted to get that big, ugly cup to raise it so all their little Blackhawk fans could go cheer. Right, Monroe? And so you tell me.
And I had a thought about this.
Wait, hold on. Let me just finish. Okay. You tell me if the leadership of the Chicago Blackhawks at that crucial moment would have revealed this allegation of sexual assault that what might have distracted their precious little players from winning that tin cup or whatever that thing is. You think Chicago Blackhawk fans would have been on the side of the player who'd been assaulted? They would have said, "Shut up. Quit being a baby."
Like the fan for the Cubs. You know, the guy that caught the ball.
Yeah, Bartman. He didn't catch the did he catch the ball? Yeah.
He did.
He did catch it. Yeah, he didn't just bat it away from him.
Was supposed to catch it.
Lou was supposed to get it. Would have been like, they would have been mad at, you're exactly right. They would have been mad at the guy. So I'm just saying this, D. Greenberg. You know, you're talking 10 years after the fact. Blackhawk fans would have been so mad at that player.
Okay, and let me point out something about the firing.
Go ahead.
That happened yesterday.
Uh-huh.
The Blackhawks are 3-0. I mean, 0-0. Yeah. They have won a game. They've lost 3 games.
That's correct. Let's get it right. Yeah.
Right, exactly. If they were on their way to another championship, he might still have his job.
Yeah, they would have been like, well, maybe a suspension is in line.
A 1 week suspension.
Let me just say this, you sports fans out there. Don't act all high and mighty. Mike Royko, the great Mike Royko, once said about sports fans, you're talking about Cubs fans, and I'm paraphrasing, if Adolf Hitler could hit the curveball and play good shortstop, Cubs fans would be like, he's not a bad guy. Why do you got to bring politics into this? That was Mike Royko's line, the great Mike Royko, columnist for the Chicago Daily News for many years in the Sun-Times. And he also had a stint at the Tribunal. Let's not discuss that. Anyway, the point is, sports fans, all they want to do is have their team win. Monroe, we saw this at Penn State. You remember Penn State? Everybody's forgotten about that horrific scandal.
Right.
Penn State, where the defensive coach was raping boys in the shower.
Yeah.
And they just looked the other way.
S.
What's that?
His name started with an S. I can't remember.
I can't remember the man. Sandusky. Very good.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Joe Paterno was the head coach. And Penn State fans were mad at the whistleblower. And they defended Paterno. I remember used to having conversations with my dear friend Mick Dumke, who is a big-time college football fan. We'd be at the Northwestern game and go, Mick, if this happened at Northwestern, would Northwestern treat it the same way? And Mick and I were like, nah, we didn't think so because, football's not that big at Northwestern, Monroe. But I don't know. I would like to believe, as much as I love my beloved Chicago Bulls, Monroe, I would like to believe that if there was a similar instance with the Chicago Bulls, I would say, you know what? That's terrible. Call the guy out. Who cares if we're in the middle of a playoff run?
That's like, if you stop and think about it, it's like Jim Joyner, who is the congressman from Ohio.
Jordan, yes.
Jordan. Yeah, Jim Jordan. Yeah, Jordan. Who was silent when one of the team players, wrestling players, was being harassed and other things, and he didn't say anything. And now it's openly known. Of course, he denies it, but because he's a Trump nut in Trump land, it's okay. It's all right.
Absolutely. Every time I see him, I think about that wrestling scandal at Ohio State, and you're absolutely right. People look the other way when it's their home team. They don't want to divert from whatever their mission is. In Jordan's case, it's to defend Donald Trump at all costs, just no matter what Trump does.
Right.
And in the case of Blackhawk fans, I really do believe, Monroe, that Blackhawk fans would have been mad, would have been outraged at the person raising the complaint, and they'd say he's distracting from the team's mission of winning the championship. And I really don't know where sports writers in this town would stand, or any, you know what I'm saying? It's like the team's on the verge of winning the Tin Cup. I mean, the Stanley Cup.
Well, this is how they would have played it. Was the guy who was harassed had it coming because he was teasing the coach.
Wow. Well, that's there's a possibility they would have found any which way to.
He was dressed too provocatively.
Yeah, he was dressed too provocatively. That's your point. Yes. If they treated a man like a woman, well, you shouldn't have worn that tight T-shirt.
Right. Exactly.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. But no, I'm just reading this, and then the other thing that gets me, and this, I just have to shake my head. So when this matter first surfaced, I think I want to give credit to WBEZ, Dave McKinney. I want to give him credit, and if he doesn't deserve the credit, I apologize to whichever reporter does. But I think Dave McKinney may have been, or if he wasn't the first, he was among the first. When this story first surfaced, the Blackhawks' response was, "We deny it all." You know, we deny it. We deny it all. You got to read the. Wait, hold on. Got to get my newspapers out here. Oh, yes. The Blackhawks issued a statement May 12th saying, quote, based on our investigations, we believe the allegations against the organization lack merit, and we are confident that the team will be absolved of any wrongdoing. That's what they said. All right. That was on May 12th. Well, what kind of investigation was that? That must have been really quick. Did you do anything wrong? Nope, didn't do anything wrong. We just did an investigation. And then it says, however, the Hawks announced June 28th that they had hired Jenner and Block to investigate the allegations. And on August 2nd, the team pledged to share the review's conclusions with the public. So in other words, that first investigation that they did that enabled them to issue that statement that they did nothing wrong was not much of an investigation. This all has to do, of course, with a lawsuit that's been filed against the Blackhawks. So I don't know, Monroe. It's by the way, I don't. Hockey is such a weird sport. Anyway, it was just like last night. I was going through the sports news on ESPN, and the highlight of a hockey game were two guys pounding each other. It's the only sport, Monroe, that openly encourages its players to fight. There are no severe consequences. Fighting, like literally, drop your stick.
You've heard that joke. I went to a fight last night, a hockey game.
Yeah. Absolutely. Weird sport. Very weird sport. So I'm not quite sure, it's like, what's your thoughts about this, Monroe? So an organization, in this case, the Blackhawks, is accused of covering up a scandal. It's accused in a lawsuit. And the Blackhawks first announced that they did nothing wrong, and they're going to vigorously combat the charges. In fact, I think it moved to dismiss the case that got this thing going. And then they decide, whoops, we'll do an internal investigation. So they hire a law firm to investigate what they did wrong. And they come up with a report that absolves some people of any responsibility, which is the people who own the team, and then blame other people who are immediately fired. So what's your thought? Mayor Lori Lightfoot did a similar thing. I don't know if you remember. She had an investigation of what the city knew and when it did know it about the police raid on Anjanette Young's house. So what's your opinion about people who get in trouble hiring law firms to do independent investigations? Do you think? Go ahead.
That's the American way. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what Trump does all the time. You get it in the courts and you let it go on and on until the passion is dissipated and the memories are dissipated, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's a tactic. It's what you're saying. It's a tactic.
Yes. That's done all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe I'm too hard on Blackhawk fans. Maybe they would have stood up and done the right thing and said, you know what? We're really glad, Blackhawks, that you came out with this story right in the eve of our Stanley Cup tournament. Even if it undercuts the Blackhawks' chances of winning the championship, because the truth is what matters. I don't think many Blackhawk fans would have said that, Monroe.
Well, see, I may be wrong, but I suspect that most, not all, but most Blackhawk fans are Trump nuts also. And so you're right.
Wow. There is, I presume, a correlation to a certain degree of MAGA support and Blackhawks. Why do you say that?
Because I think that's the mentality. When my friend, John White, went to see the Blackhawks in person,
okay,
and incidentally, he said the game is much more interesting in stadium than it is on TV.
All right.
I don't know why, but he said it was actually interesting.
Okay, I'll take him at his word.
He wasn't booed, but the black player was that they had, and I don't know who this player was, but he was surprised to see that there was a black person out there. He wasn't surprised at how they treated him.
So you say, so your assertion is that you think that not every Blackhawk fan is MAGA,
right?
But every MAGA is a Blackhawk fan. You know that old flip-flop thing.
Right. No, I'm saying that not every Blackhawk fan is MAGA, but most Blackhawk fans have a MAGA mind.
Okay, the views and opinions of Monroe Anderson are strictly those of Monroe Anderson, do not necessarily reflect the. I know there must be some liberal Blackhawk fans out there. In fact, I know one radical, one lefty who likes the Blackhawks. Anyway, I just think it's a sport. I'm picking on the Blackhawks, but I think in general it's a sports mentality thing. And by the way, it's interesting. This is telling about sports. Monroe, follow me on this. This is the bias of the sports brain. This reminds me of Colin Kaepernick, and I'll explain. So when the story of the sexual assault first broke, and convened a meeting of the mind trust of the Chicago Blackhawks, the coach, the general manager, the team president, to discuss it. And they came to the conclusion, the decision, that it would be a distraction that deterred the team from its ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup. So they were going to,
and it would have been, I think.
Well, that's where I'm asking you.
Yeah,
you're telling me that these superbly conditioned athletes who are the top at their field and skating and stick handling could not have put out of their mind for one moment the fact that their, what is he, the condition coach was assaulting a player? Do you somehow or other, how would that deter them while they're playing hockey? Do you follow what I'm saying? It's like the argument made with Colin Kaepernick.
Well, it's a psychological thing. It's the athletes are very superstitious, for one thing. If you'll remember, Walter Payton wore the same shorts all the time, just for good luck. And so having learned that the guy that was helping you hold up a bell bar might have been having salacious thoughts about you at the same time could be a distraction.
Well, okay. I think most of the players probably knew that the allegation existed, but what they didn't do is go public with it.
Right.
So the distraction would have come not from knowing that
From the
someone in your
coverage.
organization
Right.
was assailing somebody else. The distraction would come from having to answer a question about it. And this goes back to Colin Kaepernick. I remember defenders of the NFL saying at the time, the reason teams don't want to sign Colin Kaepernick is not because he took a knee. It's because his presence on the team would be a distraction, and they would be incapable of answering all the questions about him taking the knee. And I'm like, what a cop-out. They don't have that same attitude when it's like somebody who's accused of, I don't know, beating up a woman. Do you follow what I'm saying? There's going to be questions about that. Somehow or other, the team can handle.
Well, that's human nature for sure. Maybe the American way. I mean, if you look at Kyle Rittenhouse,
Mm-hmm.
the teenager that shot and killed three guys during the Black Lives Matter protest.
Mm-hmm.
The judge he's going to go. He's on trial now, about to go on trial. They're picking the jury. The judge says that the people who were shot and killed, the prosecution can't refer to them as victims.
That's correct.
Imagine if this had been a black kid who shot and killed two white guys, if that judge would hold the same position. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good imagination, but that one escapes my imagination.
All right, let's move into that discussion, move away from the Blackhawks. Although I do think that Colin Kaepernick, those excuses were just that, made up excuses, and that the real reason they didn't put him on the team is they despise the stand he was taking.
Yes.
And
the NFL ownership is very conservative.
yeah. But we saw that with John Gruden, the coach, when his emails were revealed. But let's move on to Kyle Rittenhouse. And so Kyle Rittenhouse, I think he's 18 now.
Yeah.
He's on trial, as Monroe said, for killing two people during the rioting in Kenosha in the summer. I've lost track of time. Summer of 2020, I guess it was, after James Blake was shot by Kenosha police. And you're right, Monroe. This story broke. The judge in that trial says that prosecutors cannot refer to the two victims of the shooting as victims,
right?
Even though they're victims,
right?
But that the defense lawyers can refer to them as looters and rioters,
right?
And I'm like, wow,
right. And there's a defense for him doing that.
There's a defense of the judge doing that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The defense is the victims.
Mm-hmm.
Calling them victims will prejudice the mind of the jurors. Because Rittenhouse is on trial. He hasn't been proven guilty yet. And so theoretically, they're not victims in association with him. It's only after he's been proven guilty. That's some legalese. But
well, yeah. Okay, so there are
but the other part of the defense being able to call the victims or the dead people looters and rioters, not being able to do that. That's what that does is tell you where the judge's head is.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, if you want to defend against any kind of prejudice,
right,
then you would instruct lawyers on both sides not to label any of the participants. You can't even,
because all of them had names.
Yeah.
Everybody involved, the shooter and the dead, all had names. So they could easily just use their names.
Yeah, well, the argument advanced, just so folks know, the argument advanced by the defense attorneys as to why it would be unfair to call the victims victims is that Kyle Rittenhouse will be advancing the notion that he was in fact a victim, that he shot in self-defense. So if you call them victims, it undercuts his defense that he in fact was defending himself.
Right.
When he shot them.
Yeah.
They didn't have guns. He had the gun.
Yeah. Right.
And you're right, Monroe. You're right. Sergio Mims has joined us. Sergio Mims has joined us. You're right, Monroe. Let's just finish this up before we bring Sergio on. You're absolutely right. I cannot imagine a similar argument being allowed by a judge in a case where, let's say, a man was justifying his shooting of a police officer on the grounds that he felt his life was at stake.
Right. Exactly. Right. Even if it was. Yeah. Right. Exactly. But while we're on guns, this and now that we have Sergio here,
let's bring Sergio Mims, co-founder of the Black Harvest Film Festival, with us. Sergio Mims with us. Go ahead, Monroe.
We can go to the Rust and the shootings there, but before we do, this is what I'd like to point out is that America has a gun fetish, and always have. We have a gun culture that goes back to the cowboys movies in the 30s and the 40s and 50s. I mean, there have been movies where the gun has been as romanticized as a love affair or something. I mean, you just see the gun in the cylinder spinning or something. I mean, it's been guns, guns, guns. And so at Rust, we have Alec Baldwin practicing pulling the gun because he's a Manhattan person, so more than likely he's not that familiar with guns, and so he's trying to pull it and practice shooting, and somebody ends up dead.
Yeah,
we have 30,000 Americans every year ending up dead from guns. It's a very common phenomenon, and yet no gun laws. You had those kids those 6 and 7 year old kids killed, and nothing came out of that. I mean, you have all these mass shootings, and even if you want to talk about the hijackings that are going on now, they're going on with mainly with teenagers wielding guns.
You mean the carjackings? The carjackings.
Yes, the carjackings. Yes.
All right. Let's bring Sergio Mims on since we're talking movies. He's an expert on movies. He probably knows more about movies than anybody I know. And he's the co-founder of the Black Harvest Film Festival. We'll get into that. That's coming up. But Sergio, let's deal with this issue right now. Monroe raised it. It's I'd really love to get your thoughts on this. Alec Baldwin, the shooting on the set of the movie he was making, the Western he's making, Rust, where I guess the chief of camera person was shot. And I've really been struggling with this, Sergio. You know a lot about movies. I don't know why there was a bullet on the set. I've read all these articles that are explaining, how movies are made and how gunfire is treated in movies and how there's protocol to make sure that the gun is safe. I don't know why you need a bullet on the set in any way. If it's in a gun, if it's lying on a table, I don't understand why you need a bullet anywhere near the making of a movie. Please explain to me why that was necessary in any way. Go ahead.
Well, the answer is that you don't, except in very, very rare occasions. You don't need any live rounds, real bullets in a gun. So I don't know how that happened. There are still way too many unanswered questions. Like, for example, the story was that Alec Baldwin was practicing. Alec Baldwin's been in a ton of movies, and he's been in movies where he shot guns. He has used guns before, like The Getaway, or I think even Mission Impossible movies. So I can see him practicing because it was a Western, and I guess he wanted to practice what was it like pulling a gun out of a holster in a Western. Because he's never been in a Western before. Okay, but why would you do that in front of the director of photography and the director? Doesn't make sense. Also, another question is that when you're on a film set, guns are handled by the person called the armorer. The armorer is the person who handles all the guns and the weapons, even swords. Whatever kind of weapons you need, the armorer handles it. So the story is that the assistant director gave the gun to Alec Baldwin. The gun should have come from the armorer, not from the assistant director. Assistant directors don't handle guns. They can make sure that it's ready. That's one of their jobs. But they actually take the gun. No, that's the armorer's job because the armor is responsible for that. Another question is that the assistant director, the first AD, had a notorious reputation of being incompetent. The New York Times had a long, extensive piece about this guy. About, I don't know why he kept getting hired. There were complaints about him, about his unprofessional. What?
White privilege.
Yeah, I know. I was asking rhetorically, but right. Okay. He was just incompetent. There had been complaints about him, about his unprofessionalism on other sets. So I'm sorry, there are just too many unanswered questions yet. I know a lot of people want to bring the analogy with Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son. But the one I think about is back in 1981-82, the Twilight Zone catastrophe, where they were shooting that Twilight Zone movie. And that one segment directed by John Landis. And with helicopter very low over the ground, with fireball explosions. It's a sequence that took place in Vietnam, a flashback sequence, and the helicopter went out of control, landed on top of the actor Vic Morrow and two children and killed them in a really horrible way. So these incidents are very, very rare. I know there's talk about banning guns on set. Yeah, good luck. Or using prop guns. They use prop guns already. And if you notice, they actually really use blanks nowadays. Usually what you see is digital flash coming out of guns.
Yeah.
And which I've always kind of hated, but because it does look phony to me.
You can tell the difference?
Oh, I can. Oh, sure. I can in a minute. But
wait, time out. Defy Bloods. You came on the show. We did a whole segment on Defy Bloods. There was a lot of shooting in Defy Bloods, which was I thought was a really good movie that came out last summer, or maybe 2 summers ago. I've lost track of time. Are you telling me you could tell whether that was digital enhanced gunfire coming out or it was blanks?
Yeah, sure, easy.
You could tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know how? Because in real life, guns don't make that kind of flash. They don't. Unless you put a full clip. I mean a full blank clip in a gun. They don't make that kind of large flash. Yeah. They don't. And when it's digital, it's too big. It's too big. And also the reaction of the actors is forced because they're trying to pretend like there's a real recall when there really isn't. I can tell, it's.
So you're sort of making the argument from an artistic point of view why you need a real gun on the set.
Well, here's the thing, okay? When you're doing a scene with guns, okay, there's a fake gun and there's a prop gun. The fake gun is like a plastic gun, very realistic looking.
Yeah.
It's a fake gun. It does not fire, and usually that's given to the actor before he holds a gun in a scene, so he can get the feel of it, the weight of it, how to hold it. Before shooting starts, you take the prop gun, you take the fake gun, you give him a prop gun that shoots blanks, and then also you never, of course, fire towards somebody. You never ever do that. When you see somebody firing in the movie, they're firing towards an empty space or plexiglass or bulletproof glass. You never fire at anybody. And then you see the person getting, then you see the person getting hit. So once again, I don't really understand how Alec Baldwin was practicing firing a gun in front of the front of the camera, the director of photography, the woman who was killed, and the director who was injured. I don't understand that. He should have been practicing in an open field with a director watching, or the stunt coordinator and the armorer.
Yeah.
So and also this also shows what's been going on in a lot of film production. And this is why the film union, IASTE, the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, almost went on strike 2 weeks ago. Now, they ratified the contract, but they agreed on the contract, but the members haven't voted for it yet. And IASTE is the union that handles everybody: cameramen, assistant cameramen, grips, gaffers, armorers, lighting people, everybody, except directors, producers, and writers and actors. Okay, they almost went on strike because all these streaming services are making crews working longer, harder, for less money.
Yeah.
And they are worn out. They're doing 16-hour days. They got to turn around. And the unions have said, that's enough. And this was, I believe, a Netflix show. Netflix and Hulu and all these people, they're driving crews to the end of exhaustion because there's all this content they got to make. There are too many damn streaming services. There are too many damn shows.
Yeah.
Movies. There are too many. Who watches all these things?
Sergio, I have to tell you, this is a great rant you're about to go on, and I encourage you to go on it because I share your feeling about this, and I've come to the conclusion. I just watched Squid Games, which I don't know if you've seen. I don't think Monroe's seen it.
I've seen the original, which is called Battle Royale.
How did I can't even get these words out. You knew that Squid Games is you saw the original, meaning a movie or a TV show?
There's a movie. There's a movie,
Okay.
Japanese movie, Battle Royale. Extremely grossly violent.
Okay, well, so is Squid Games, by the way. But anyway, my point is this: Squid Games. I think there's 9 episodes. I can't remember. Let's say there's 9 or 10. Doesn't matter. The point is, there should only be half that. So much of it is just fluff. And this is the case almost in every streaming show, even if it's a half-hour comedy. To get to 10 episodes, Sergio, they have to insert so much fluff, so much like dialogue about past incidents that may have affected the characters, these moments, these recollections about their loved ones, scenes with spouses, for instance. Can we just get rid of all scenes with spouses? It just absolutely do nothing to propel the plot at all. It's just fluff.
They're nothing like an Elmore Leonard novel, which is just meat on the bones. That's it.
Yeah, and great dialogue, by the way, in Elmore Leonard. That's what he specializes. So you'll have a scene for just an excuse to hear the great dialogue. But so that's you talk about all the shows being made, this pumping it out. Not only they're making a lot of shows, the shows are inflated.
Well, the other people have made that comment. You're not the first person to say that. You're not. But the point I was trying to make is that because you have all these crews working so hard and they're getting exhausted, mistakes are bound to happen.
Yeah.
And that's was the case. It was unfortunately, it was a fatal mistake, but that's what happened. So there's still, like I said, there are too many questions yet to be answered. There's still what are the legal ramifications of what happened? It's still not clear yet. Is Alec Baldwin responsible? Is the assistant director for sure is in big trouble? That's for sure. The first AD, whose name I cannot remember now, he's in huge trouble.
Yeah.
But Netflix could be liable. Alec Baldwin is the producer of the show. Well, I'm sure one of many on the show. Producers are liable. This is a big mess.
Yeah.
And it's going to go on for some time. I expect legal action to happen within the next few weeks. Somebody's going to file a suit to somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
And it'll go on from there.
All right. By the way, as you were speaking, it flashed across the screen, news break, the aldermen in the Chicago City Council have voted to pass Mayor Lori Lightfoot's budget. Mayor Lori Lightfoot barely won last year. Her budget passed by, I think, one or two, 3 votes, something like that. And this one was pretty overwhelming.
Can I say something right here at this point? I want to congratulate you for all the years of the Reader.
Oh, thank you.
And also give a shout out to the Reader. 50 years. 50 years, Bob Ross, the visionary. Can you imagine? The visionary? The visionary, as he was called in the article, the visionary of. I don't mean disrespect. I don't mean.
No, Bob Roth is a good friend of Sergio, so he's laughing at his good friend being called a visionary. I got to give Roth a lot of credit.
Well, we all know him. We all know Bob.
Yeah. But Bob Roth and his pals from college created the Reader way back in 1971 before I had anything to do with it. And it was like another 13 years before I came along. They put together, man, what a just a thriving product they put together. And I wrote a story about this, Sergio. Now we're at a tangent within a tangent. Monroe's laughing.
Yes, I read it, right.
Yeah, but I talked about, back in those days, I worked for the Chicago Reporter, which was a newsletter dedicated to promoting healthy integration. Wow, what a thought, just to think about that. Something dedicated to integration, which nobody cares about anymore. Anyway, so once a month, John McDermott, who ran that publication, would invite a distinguished person from Chicago civic circles to come talk to us, the staff, for lunch. One time, that distinguished person, and I'm not making this up, was Monroe Anderson. A young Monroe Anderson, looking very dapper, came over from the Chicago Tribune. I was in awe of him then those days, Sergio. Can you believe that? And Monroe sat there. And you know what? I told him his story. He's sitting there being really quiet. And I go, what a great honor it was to have you. And he goes, well, in those days, I got paid $50 or something like that.
$35. $35 a public appearance.
That's the only reason he did it, Sergio.
He still gets paid $35 for a public appearance, right?
Well, that's $35 more than he gets for being on my show. That's for sure.
Well, and also I want to congratulate Monroe, because there's this wonderful documentary that premiered at Chicago National Film Festival, Punch 9.
Yeah.
Vote for Harold Washington, which is great, about the Harold Washington years. Monroe is all over that documentary. Right. There's even a scene of that legendary debate between Washington and Richie Daley and Jane Byrne, and there is this young kid, Monroe Anderson, looks like he's on his way to the high school prom.
Oh my God, you're so right. Monroe Anderson, man, we're really so much. When he was 40, he looked like he was 12. I mean, the guy had a baby face, right, Sergio?
I didn't recognize him at first. It's that kid in the movie. It's Monroe.
Oh Lord.
and that was when I saw the movie last week. That was my first time seeing that question that I did.
What was the question? What was the question you asked? I haven't seen the movie Punch 9. I'm dying to see it. I have not had an opportunity to see it. Well, maybe it'll be at Black Harvest Film Festival. We'll find out.
It probably will be at the Film Center. Not with Black Harvest. We tried to get it. We were supposed to show it last year, but it wasn't ready. But I think the Film Center. I think the Film Center is bringing it in December or maybe January.
Well, I'll have to wait till December to see it. But Monroe, this was a big moment, ladies and gentlemen. You youngsters out there don't realize this was a pivotal primary election, 3-way race. Mayor Jane Byrne, the sitting mayor. Richie Daley, yes. That Richie Daley, who was your mayor, you elected him 5 times, Chicago. This is before he was the mayor. He was the Cook County State's attorney, and Congressman Harold Washington. And what a great debate it was. Harold mopped the floor with them. Yeah. Monroe, what was the question that you asked?
I didn't remember before I saw the movie, and I don't remember now because I was so surprised that was my first time seeing it.
Yeah.
And I've long forgotten what the question was, but actually it was a pretty good question. It was better than I thought it would be. And the way it was answered is both Byrne and Daly ducked and dodged it. And Harold comes in and he says, I'll tell you what the answer to that is because neither one of them did. And he just swam.
No, this Monroe talked about white privilege a little while ago, Sergio. And let me just say this. I was just a kid who had just moved to Chicago. And I took a look at Harold Washington, Richie Daley, and Jane Byrne on a debate stage. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? There's no choice here. The smartest, most charming, most charismatic, most articulate, directly answering questions guy with a vision for the future of the city is obviously Harold Washington. The fact that 90% of white Chicago disagreed with me, elevated Richie Daley and Jane Byrne, I mean, to that stature, like they voted for them over Washington, just showed you. To me, it was like, wow, this is deep.
Well, one
moment. Go ahead.
One of the most remarkable moments in the movie is they interview Bernie Epton's son in the film.
Jeff Epton.
Yeah, and he breaks down crying, talking about that campaign that his father ran. I mean, the ugly racist tone. I mean, what's the tone? The ugly racism of that campaign. You know, vote for Epton before it's too late. And he breaks down crying, you know, because he cannot believe this is what his father did.
Yeah.
Either he figures this is not the father I knew when he did this.
Yeah, no,
you know, he's like either he really believed this all this time and I didn't know it growing up, or he's so cynical, so cold calculating that he went ahead and did this.
Monroe.
Bernie had some psychological problems by that time because during the course of the election, a black nurse, I think it was from Michael Reed's hospital, released the information on his health condition. And I think that's why the son was so upset still, because that wasn't his father's normal behavior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Epton's grandson and my son were at Whitney Young together, and they were very good friends, which I thought was interesting.
Well, I mean, I'm going to give a shout out to Bernie Epton. And Sergio, you appreciate this. Sergio, we talk about this all the time, born and raised in Hyde Park. And Bernie Epton was a Hyde Parker. He was a legitimate moderate Republican. In those days, such an animal existed, Monroe, a real moderate Republican, marched with Dr. King, you know, all that stuff. Yeah. There were Republicans who believed in civil rights. I'm not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. It was just before MAGA and before Trump. And Bernie Epton was of that ilk. And in the old days, when we had a primary system, the Democratic mayor, the person who won the Democratic nomination in the city of Chicago, was considered the overwhelming favorite. And the Republicans just put up a candidate just to have someone on the ballot. And so Bernie Epton, if he had run against Richie Daley or Jane Byrne, would have been swamped. It would have been like 80% for Byrne or Daley and 20% for Epton. And I might have voted for Bernie Epton over Richie Daley. I probably would have voted for Bernie. And young Sergio Mims and Monroe Anderson probably would have voted for Bernie Epton over Richie Daley. If Daley was
for Bernard Epton. I mean, Carey.
Bernard Carey in 1980. Yeah. So did I. And but Harold Washington emerged. And overnight, Bernie Epton, that avuncular, moderate Republican, just, as Sergio was saying, morphed into MAGA, pre-MAGA. This is pre-MAGA, and just went with it.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late. And here's the thing. I think if there's one flaw with the movie, is that when it covers the election, it doesn't really capture the intensity of that moment. Because we all remember this city was a tinderbox about to explode.
Yeah.
I mean, you could feel it in the air. I mean, everybody was on pins and needles. That election between Washington and Bernie Epton was caused a lot of sleepless nights. I'm telling you, it was so fraught with tension at that time.
Well, Monroe, you could talk about this. Your dear friend Leonida McClain, who was a columnist for the Chicago Tribune. Another person who John McDermott, by the way, brought to one of our luncheons. Sergio, you're pretty much the only person that did not get invited to one of our luncheons back there. Clarence Page was invited.
He would have been a gate crasher. He'd have showed up there. You guys, who is
That's
this?
true. If I knew about it, I would have shown up.
You would have showed up, yeah.
For free lunch.
It was free lunch, delicious lunch. Shout out to Helena Appleton, who was the executive secretary, and she's a great, a dear woman, passed on a few years back, and she would make the lunch, a delicious lunch. But anyway, Leonida McClain came, and Leonida McClain was a very talented columnist for the Chicago Tribune. Monroe could talk about this, Sergio, coming out of what you're saying. She saw that hate. She saw that visceral white reaction against Harold Washington, and she expressed in her columns how difficult that was to accept and acknowledge, just like in the workplace, Monroe. And you were there, Monroe. You were at the Tribune, an all-white environment in the midst of this campaign. You know what it was like.
Yes.
And Leonida McClain later took her life. Yeah, it was out there, Monroe. It was real, right?
Oh, it was ugly. When I wrote the op-ed page piece predicting that the next mayor would be black, and this was almost sacrilege to do this in the first place, but I got a letter from a reader, and I opened it. It's my column that he's cut out of the paper, and in a black permanent marker, he wrote bullshit.
Wow.
And as it turned, and of course, I turned out to be right.
That was mild. What I thought you were saying he was going to write on.
Oh no, I got some of that too.
You did?
Yeah, exactly. I got some of that. And in fact, in the movie, who was the black guy who produced the movie with Joe Winston? Do you know Sergio?
Oh, you mean Raymond Lambert?
Yeah. I was talking to him. He said that he and Joe Winston had a heated argument on whether they should have me saying about at the church that it said "die nigger," and Joe chose to just show it, but not have me say it.
Uh-huh.
They cut it out because in my interview I said that they had spray painted on the church "die nigger." So I think Joe was trying to tone it down some. That's the only thing I can figure out.
Well, it's hard to tone down that election. That was, and Sergio Monroe, you get a kick out of this. So that really was, I mean, my first like real face-to-face encounter with Chicago racism. And so many, I've told this story so many times, so many black people go, "Oh, it took you that long?" It took you that, but I'm a white guy from Evanston. Yeah, Sergio, white people in Evanston talk like that. It's it's like a liberal town. They may do it in their home with the door shut, but they don't do it publicly in a church.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is something else, man. All right, let's shift
okay,
gears.
wait a minute. While we're talking about me, I want to just point out that Friday, I was awarded a distinguished alumni from the Media School of Indiana University. And it was a very nice event. And for somebody who never, there's only 2 Black people in the journalism department when I was there in the late 60s. Something I never dreamed that would actually happen, but it did. So that was great.
A shout out to, by the way, Sergio, Monroe and I have like opposite lives. So Monroe grew up in Gary and never looked toward no white people.
Right.
He never met a white person, really. I think Monroe, maybe a teacher here or there, until he went.
Two white teachers in my career, 1 3rd grade, 1 10th grade, and that was it.
That's it. Wow. Yeah. Just imagine that. Sergio's a product of Kenwood High, very integrated school, white teachers, white kids, black teachers, etc. Just the thought, Monroe went through an all-black, segregated Gary, Indiana public school system and did not meet a white person until he got to the University of Indiana. Now, Monroe, did they put all the black kids in the same section of the dormitory at Indiana?
No. It was integrated. It wasn't that many of us. 30-some thousand, 32,000, I think, students, 600 Blacks on campus.
Yeah, that must have been quite an experience. So congratulations to Monroe.
And what's really interesting is Stephen Lucas, who's Lester's news director, Lester Holt, also got an award. We were the 2 Blacks out of 5 people.
No, you were there at the same time.
No, he was there 10 years after me.
Oh, he's younger than you. Okay.
But he graduated from Gary Roosevelt also. So Gary was represented.
Gary was represented. The other great graduate of Gary Roosevelt is Junior Bridgman, a name that I'm the only one who knows. Great basketball player. All right, Monroe and Sergio, let's talk about vaccine mandates. And I'd love to get both of your opinions on this. I've been talking a lot about it on this show and talking about the showdown between John Catanzara, the head of the Fraternal Order of Police, and Mayor Lori Lightfoot over whether police officers should be required not to get the vaccine, but just to tell the city whether they've received the vaccine. And so I'm going to ask Monroe for his thoughts on this first, and then Sergio, get your thoughts on this. Monroe, take it away.
I think that it should be mandated or required, whatever you want to name it, that all police get vaccinated. Because if they aren't vaccinated, then you still can, as a member of the public, you can have an encounter with them. You can't necessarily avoid the police. They show up at very inopportune times, lots of times, to give you a ticket for running a stop sign or whatever. I mean, you can always, you can't ever depend on not seeing a cop. And so they have to, they should be all vaccinated so they won't infect you. Period. Wow. Okay, it shouldn't be, and this nonsense about them being forced to do it or something. They force you in their job. They force you to do all sorts of things willy-nilly. So there's no reason why they should not be required to serve and protect you. And also, they have all sorts of things that protect them. Bulletproof vest. They have different things they have for their personal protection. And yet, more policemen in this nation have died from COVID than have from being shot.
That is true. New York Times did a story about that. Couple in the last, since COVID broke out, I think it's over 450 deaths. Law enforcement officers, police officers have died of COVID-related conditions. All right, Sergio, your thoughts?
Yeah, as Monroe mentioned, this incredible hypocrisy. Policemen are supposed to serve and protect. So, isn't protecting us getting vaccinated? You don't want to do it, then quit. I don't know if you saw John Oliver, his show Last Week Tonight, the show that comes on HBO. He should just quit, man. You don't want to get the vaccine, quit. See if you can try to find another job. And let's face it, the only real reason why the police are doing this, and that head of the police union,
Catanzaro.
yeah, every time I see him, you know what he calls black people behind closed doors. Every time I see him, I can tell, or where the doors are open. It's very obvious. Okay, now, here's the situation. Oh gosh, what was I going to say? About police. Basically, the cops are giving the middle finger to people they don't like. They're giving the middle finger to like those college-educated, Volvo driving, latte drinking, lakefront liberals.
It's
who they
Prius
can't stand.
now.
What?
It's Prius driving now.
Oh, sorry. Well, they still drive Volvos.
Yeah, but I mean, the really stereotypical liberals are now driving Priuses, not Volvos.
Right, but that's what they're doing. They can't. It's all MAGA. These MAGA guys. They're MAGA guys. They can't stand the idea that somebody is doing better than they can, and this is the way to giving a finger. Now, if they want to die, get seriously ill and die while giving the finger, well, that's their right. They can do it. I'm the kind of person. Everybody who hasn't been vaccinated, and you want to say it's about your freedom and everything. My feeling is go ahead. Don't get vaccinated. Don't come crying, as many of them have, when you're sick and in the hospital and dying. I'm sorry. I'm all out of sympathy for you. Or as I like to say, let's thin the herd.
All right. So since you said this, each of you have taken this hard stand. I'm going to switch it from police officers in Chicago who, again, they don't even want to tell the city whether they've been vaccinated. And I'll switch it to Kyrie Irving, who is one of the great basketball players in the NBA, plays for the Brooklyn Nets, will not be playing this year because he refuses to get vaccinated. And there is a law in New York City that says that if you're not vaccinated, you cannot enter. You cannot enter the arena, the Barclay Arena where the Brooklyn Nets play, or Madison Square Garden where the New York Knicks play. So as a member of the Brooklyn Nets, he can't enter the arena. That's half the games he can't go to. And so the Brooklyn Nets said, you know what? We're just not going to deal with this as a distraction. Don't come. So he won't play. And yet, Sergio, Mims, and Monroe Anderson, because of the position taken by the NBA and the Players Association, he's still entitled to half his salary. He will get $17 million for not playing this year. That's half his salary. He has to forfeit the money he would get, that he would get because he's refusing to go to games at the Barclays Center, essentially. But in other arenas where there are no mandates keeping you out of the arena for not being vaccinated, he'll be paid. What's your thoughts about that, Sergio Mims?
By the way, before anything else, how do you pronounce his first name?
Kyrie. Kyrie.
Okay, if you know the Catholic Church, the Mass is Kyrie. Kyrie eleison, Christi eleison, Kyrie eleison. Okay.
You tell that to Mrs. or Mr. Irving, but that's how he pronounces it.
Anybody who's listening who's Catholic, it's Kyrie eleison. It's Kyrie.
Is it spelled the same way?
Yes. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison, Christi eleison.
You mean like Cairo, Illinois?
Yeah, it's from the Catholic. It's from the Mass, the Catholic Mass. Okay.
But he spells his name Kyrie.
It's spelled the same way. But they call it Kyrie. It's pronounced Kyrie. Well, correctly, it's pronounced Kyrie.
Not only is he missing a half a season, he's mispronouncing his name.
Right. Anywho, fine. If it's worth him to lose all that money to not get vaccinated, fine. That he loses all that money.
But he's still getting paid. This is the part that gets to me. He's still getting paid. Go ahead, Monroe.
I'd take $17 million.
Yeah, I would take the $17 million too.
I'd take the other half that he's not.
Right, I would too.
I'm just like boggles my mind. Listen. I'm not saying if someone's going to give me $17 million just to sit at home. I'm with Charles Barkley on this one. He went on a total rant about this.
Yeah. I know Barkley. That's funny when Barkley is smarter than you are.
Stop it. Barkley is absolutely. And by the way, this is something else, Monroe and Sergio. I know neither of you are sports fans, but this is a generational thing when you get to the NBA. All the older retired players are looking at Kyrie Irving in utter disbelief that he would not get vaccinated. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Charles Barkley, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. They are like, are you kidding me? You're Magic Johnson, add him to the list. Like, you're not playing because you don't want to get vaccinated? They're like angry at it on two levels, Sergio. One,
he compared himself to Muhammad Ali.
And what was your reaction to that, Monroe?
No comparison whatsoever. Ali had skin in the game, or didn't have skin in the game. How you want to look at it? He put his career at risk for a principle, not for something stupid.
And not only that, he can get $17 million.
Right.
Yeah.
He lost money. Yeah.
He lost
anything. Yeah. Yeah.
That one.
It's like that football. What's his name? I forgot. The football player who became persona non grata because he took a knee. What's his name?
Colin Kaepernick. We already talked about
Kaepernick. And I said, okay, fine, but he's not Ali. He's not Ali. I mean, Ali took a bullet. I mean, he lost a lot of years.
He could have gone to prison.
I mean, really at the height of his career. Really at the height of his career.
Right.
For a principled stand, you know. Right. And I don't think there's any comparison. I don't think there's no comparison.
No, there isn't.
So when people talk about Colin Kaepernick, I said, okay, fine, but he's not Ali. And this other guy, Kire, or whatever he wants to pronounce his name, believe me, he's no Ali either.
Oh, he's definitely. I mean, you could say that Colin Kaepernick is at least in the same general grouping as Muhammad Ali. But even so, I mean, there was only one Muhammad Ali, and it doesn't serve any purpose. But Kyrie Irving, I just can't get over this, is getting paid $17 million. I almost feel sorry for the Chicago police officers. If you take a stand, you quit, you don't get any money. No one's giving you any money.
You get a job with the Indiana State Police.
Monroe, your home state, man. Oh, my God.
No, because
Lord,
that's what Indiana's doing. They're saying anybody who leaves the Chicago police force because they don't want to get vaccinated can come work with the Indiana State Police, and they'll give them $500 a signing bonus too.
Yes, Indiana, man. No wonder Monroe left.
By the way, I didn't know anything about this Blackhawks situation until you two guys were talking about it. I hadn't heard a thing about it.
Well, that's why. Okay,
this is what I read about it. That's what I meant.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. This is one of my favorite topics, Sergio. There are people who are obsessed with sports, and nothing in that's sports related escapes their detection. And then there are people who aren't into sports. And there's a lot of people like this in my life, and it's like there's a cone around their brain that protects them from any sports information. Remember that space war thing that Reagan came up with? Like, incoming missiles will be shot down by, and that's how it works. So if a sports information comes towards you, you have like a missile that comes out of your head, kills it, and so you'll never have to deal. Yeah, no.
I had no idea.
Yeah, well, the Blackhawks. That's
well, it's like this thing you've written up. You see, I already know because you've written about it, about the Bears and this new stadium. And I was like, I don't know a lot, but are the Bears that good? They can get a brand new stadium?
No, they're terrible. This is what you should know about the Chicago Bears. Don't get me started on this topic. They're god awful.
They're rich. They could do it.
Yeah, in fact, there was an article in the Sun-Times today where the head of the Civic Federation, I forget his name at the moment, was arguing that please do what you can, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, to keep the Bears in Chicago. And I'm like, that's the downtown civic community speaking, Sergio Mims. And they think that it's more important to the future of the city of Chicago that the Bears have a stadium to play in than, let's say, I don't know, at Kenwood High School can have a computer class or something like that. It's the priorities in this town never.
Well, how much money do the Bears bring to Chicago every year? I don't know.
I don't know, and I don't think he knows, and I don't think anybody knows.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot because the people from the suburbs come in, and some of them stay overnight at hotels. A lot of them eat out at
Monroe. That's 8 games a year.
I know.
That's 8 games a year. I don't know how many people from the suburbs come in. You got a lot of people eating at a lot of restaurants to make up for like $1 billion or whatever it's going to cost to build the Bears their stadium. I mean, the Bears only have 8 home games a year.
I know. Now, Roy, as I mentioned here before, Royko did a column about it, and he said it was the most expensive TV set.
That's right. All right, Sergio, let's end the show with you promoting the Black Harvest Film Festival. As Monroe Anderson has said many times, the greatest film festival in the city of Chicago.
Finally, Monroe says something right.
On the south side.
It's actually technically on the north side.
Well,
Black Harvest Film. It's downtown, but it's north of Madison. Anyway, tell us what we need to know. Go ahead.
Well, this is, believe it or not, this is the 27th year. 27 year. We did a smart thing, actually, turned to be a smart thing. When we were playing the festival this year, usually we're in August. And when we were planning the festival, because it takes a year to put it together, we were debating, should we do it in August? Or should we, hold up until later in the fall? Because we didn't know what the situation would be like. Boy, did we make a smart decision.
Yeah.
So it starts next Friday, November 5th, continues to December 2nd. We have somewhere between 40 and 50 movies that we're showing. New films, new documentaries, retrospectives. We have a Gordon Parks retrospective this year. We're doing, of course, we're showing Shaft in 35 millimeter. We are doing a 50th anniversary screening of Sweet Sweetback, Badass Song by Melvin Van Peebles. And actually, we were planning that before the news came that he passed. And that's that'll be also on 35 millimeter. And then we're doing a 30th anniversary screen on closing night of Jungle Fever. Still working on gifts. Okay. Opening night is something different. Now, usually on opening night, we usually show a series of shorts, films that we show in the festival. This year, we are going to be showing a brand new featured documentary about Dionne Warwick called Dionne Warwick, Don't Make Me Over. It premiered at the Toronto Film Festival back in September, and this will be the Chicago premiere of it. And we're very, very excited. The director will be there in person. I can't make any guarantees that Dionne Warwick will be there, though her people have told us they're working on it. But we don't know.
What date is that?
That's November 5th. Okay.
Are there tickets available for that, or is that sold out?
Absolutely. Tickets are available now. Festival passes are available now. Individual tickets are available now. Also, we're doing a sneak preview of the new Will Smith movie, King Richard, in which he plays Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena.
Yeah.
Which is a 2.5-hour movie, by the way, folks. So, the one that's on the 17th. We'll be showing that movie. We're showing a brand new 4K restoration of Chameleon Street, Wendell Smith's movie, in which he plays the infamous con man Douglas Street, who impersonated a doctor, impersonated lawyers, even impersonated a surgeon, and performed 36 hysterectomies.
Oh my!
Even though he never went to a hospital, he never went to medical school. It's a true story.
How many of them died?
That I don't know. I don't think any of them did.
Wait, time out. Is that a feature film or a documentary?
Oh, it's a feature film. It was originally it won Best Place at the Sundance Film Festival in 1991, and So it's been rarely seen by people. It didn't really get much. It didn't get much of any kind of release after it came out, but it had a huge cult following. And as I said, it has been recently. There's a new 4K restoration, and we're showing that. It's showing right now in New York, and we're going to be showing it in Chicago on the 18th, I believe. Yeah, the 18th.
And what's the name of that movie again?
It's called Chameleon Street.
Yeah.
Now, if you want any information, please go to ciscofilmcenter.org. That's SISKEL, ciscofilmcenter.org. It's right across the street from Chicago Theater on State Street. And I implore you, really, if you see anything you like, make sure you get your ticket ASAP, because tickets the shows do sell out. And you don't want to be that person who's hanging around the box office asking if anybody had a spare ticket, because it happens all the time. I mean, we have so many movies and panels and discussions, and last year we did.
How much is a season ticket? For the entire festival?
I believe it's $80.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, for a pass.
Yeah, for a pass. Yeah.
For a pass. Okay. And individual tickets, I think, are $12. Now, here's the thing. As I said, tickets sell out fast. Last year, we did a streaming festival. That's what everybody did, a streaming thing. Okay. And it worked fine. We got better numbers than we thought. And we consider it a success. But now we're back in the theater. We're back in the Cisco Film Center, and we wanted to come back big. And this is the biggest collection of movies. Even in what going on through right now, I'm surprised at the number of submissions we got and the movies that were out there that we solicited. Oh, Attica, Stanley Nelson's new documentary about the Attica riot in 1971, 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
It is brilliant. And we have always shown Stanley Nelson's work, like Vanguards of the Revolution, about the history of the Black Panthers. His films always sell out, and they're always in demand. So Attica is amazing, really amazing. So, like I said before, go to the website, ciscofilmcenter.org, and get your tickets.
What's the COVID protocol at the Cisco's?
Well, you'll be asked for. I'm glad you asked that. Good. See, he really must be a reporter.
That's a good question.
And all this time, I thought he was just fooling. So anyway,
I'm a film journalist in disguise.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Lobo. That's low down. That's low down. So anyway, what the protocol is this? The art, like all the art institute in the complex, you'll be asked for your vaccination card or proof that you have passed a negative COVID test within the last 72 hours. That's the protocol.
Okay. Do you have to wear masks when you're watching the movie, or no?
I believe you do.
Yes. I believe I know this because I'm going to the Bulls game tomorrow, and for the Bulls game, unless you're eating or drinking, you have to have the mask on. They let you do that. So I guess if you're eating popcorn, I've actually do not know if you're allowed to eat popcorn at a movie theater, but yes, you have to wear a mask.
Yes, you are. Oh, people eat all the time in movie theaters. Yeah.
All right. I've seen movies, by the way, Sergio, since in the last couple months. I've actually gone to movie theaters again, and I wrote down. I'm a big fan of Dionne Warwick. I love Dionne Warwick, so don't make me over. I'm November 5th. Wrote that down. And I'm hoping you bring in. Oh, great! Have you interview Dionne Warwick? Would be pretty cool.
Yeah, we're down to the wire, and even with all festivals, there are always last minute things down to the wire. So we're working on it. I I just cannot make any promises right now. So don't go there and say, "Hey, I heard that she was going to be there." You know.
No, I don't need to see Dionne Warwick literally in the. I mean, it would be great. I want to see the movie, but it would be totally cool if Dionne Warwick were to show up, and I would avoid singing my renditions of her songs.
She literally just performed last week in New York. Literally, I saw a picture of it. She performed a sub benefit in New York last week.
Oh, I did not know that. Great, Monroe. Are you a fan of Dionne Warwick, or is she?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
love Dionne Warwick. Always have.
So, I'm sorry. You want to ask a question? What was it? Oh,
No.
about movies, right?
Yes. I was simply going to say that I urge everybody to go see at least one movie at the Black Harvest Film Festival. Check it out. I think it's a fantastic film festival, and Sergio and his colleagues, they know their stuff. They put together quite a package. Jungle Fever is a Spike Lee movie, which I don't know where it ranks. I mean, that's a whole we could do, you and I could do a whole thing on Spike Lee movies, Sergio, where Jungle Fever ranks. I personally like it a lot. But I get the feeling that it's overlooked by a lot of the critics.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Monroe.
Whatever happened to the black actress that was in that, who didn't get along with Denzel?
You mean, the black actress?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you need
She's from Chicago. She was from.
No. Are you thinking about More Better Blues?
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm thinking about More Better Blues.
Yeah, you're talking about Cinda Williams.
Yeah, right.
I think she lives here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Two different movies, and
Right. Oh yeah, right.
All right, we're gonna end the show for today. Everybody, check out Black Harvest Film Festival, and I'm sure you can find at least one movie in the lineup that you'll enjoy, and you go see it. And Jungle Fever, man, can't wait for that one. And see who maybe Spike Lee will show up. Who knows? And Sergio will get the interview.
I can tell you that he sent his regards.
His regrets, you mean?
Right.
Regrets.
Right.
Yeah, he sent his regrets. All right. I want to thank Sergio Mims, outstanding job, and of course Monroe Anderson every Wednesday on the Ben Joravsky.
Oh, and hello, Dennis. I didn't mean to ignore you.
No worries. It's fine.
Don't worry. Here he is. He speaking in the corner. So great job, Sergio Mims. Great job, Monroe Anderson. And of course, yes, thanks to the man, the myth, the legend, pride of Joe Alton, Illinois, without whom the show would be possible. And Dennis will be on the road. Speaking of Alton, going down, his mom had successful surgery. Producer Vicky, God bless you. Get strong. And Dennis is going to go keep her company for a couple days. He will not be here Friday, so we'll have a sit-in. The great Atiba Buchanan from WVON will be sitting in to do What a Week. But the doctor will be back in the house next week, right, D?
Yes, sir.
Yes, very good. And as Sergio and Monroe will tell you, back home in Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Hey friends, are you ready? Hey friends, are you ready? Hey friends, are you ready for government to dictate and control your lives?
I want an answer. I want an answer. I want an answer. It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit, is what I think. If you think we
No offense, fuck you then.
Hey friends, are you ready for government to dictate and control your lives again? You're one step closer. J.B. Pritzker, our tyrannical governor, just issued more mandates today. Friends, that's not right. That's not what government is about. Government is to inform and educate. We decide. God bless you.
I want an answer. I want an answer.